up on the shelf. You know they could never love me. They can't even love themselves. But I need someone to love me, someone to really understand. Who won't put himself above me? He'll just love me like a man.
Okay, so today our guest is Peter Ekstrom, a 1973 Antioch graduate in communications. Talking with Peter is his longtime friend and colleague, Catherine Jordan, who graduated in 72, and she is another dedicated and illustrious Antioch graduate. So here they are.
It's my great pleasure and delight to welcome Peter to this theater and performance backstage event. Peter and I attended Antioch together in the late 60s, and I look to him as a revolutionary shapeshifter, an entertainer, an artist, and a chanteuse.
Peter, what are you trying to do?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was muted.
He stretched my imagination. He included me and the Antioch Yellow Springs community in his explorations and provided us with endless fun, engaging and mind-bending productions. And he, along with Antiochians like Michael Fagins and Brooke Higdon and Diane Breakstone and Seal Grusing and Becky Nordstrom and many others, were my peers and mentors. We were so fortunate to have found each other in Antioch at a time when we could get our own agendas addressed and experiment with new realities and challenge out-of-date stereotypes. Give us a little background on an early childhood memory that maybe foreshadowed some of your experiences on your creative journey.
Yeah, I grew up,
photographs.
we have a photograph here, a typical 1950s family, mother and father, my brother David. My mother did found Planned Parenthood in that county, and my father did the books for the free clinic for free. So that was a little bit, liberalism in there. But one Halloween, they dressed us up. Well, my brother wanted to be a doctor. There he is. I didn't want to be anything, but my Aunt Nana did this for me. And I was kicked out of school. They sent me home because they didn't know that they should dress a little boy like a girl at that point.
What drew you to Antioch?
Two things. Once I was when I was a kid, like maybe 15 or 15, Lake Erie College for Women, not anymore, was in Painesville, Ohio. And they would hire Antioch students who were actors to come and be the men in their plays and wash dishes too. But I fell in love with this guy. I was cast in a play, A Month in the Country, and this guy was incredible. So I fell in love. Gene Parsegian was his name, and I think he went on to be a famous agent. And then the next thing was the First Tuesday, a documentary on TV every first Tuesday, and they did a documentary on Antioch College. This man who lived in South Hall, and he painted his room black. He was dressed all in black, everything black, and then I knew this is the place for me. So I applied and got in, and there you go.
So tell us about set the stage of the context for your arrival. What was going on nationally?
Oh, yeah. Well, the night before I left were the Stonewall riots. And I knew a little bit about that, but not much. And then also Judy Garland's funeral was the day before into the night where the riots happened. Some people say that that's connected, maybe, but it was the drag queens that really got the police. They threw rocks and took their heels. And
yeah. So what was it about Antioch that supported your creative pursuits? Tell us about.
Well, a couple of things. I mean, once I was in a community where everybody was reading the same thing, listening to the same music, and talking about it. So that was good. I was put in a program though that was called Basic Explorations. This is very Antioch, where you could design your whole general education around a project. I picked Andre Gide, who I loved. And you had to have a faculty member, a student, a townie, and a staff member, and they would approve what you did. And that's what happened. And I got most of my general education done that way. So that was cool.
So
But
what about
they didn't do it after a year.
what kind of classes unleashed your passions?
Well, Catherine, I don't know if you were in school
Next.
then, were you? Yeah, next. It was a class called Creative Use of Outdoor Spaces that this woman, Seal Grusing, taught. My project was called The Funeral. And what I did is I laid myself out, painted my face white, closed my eyes, this kind of thing, put candles around. And the class came and everyone had envelopes that I'd put together and they were progressive. They took out the first one, what they should wear and where they should go. And so they put on, I guess the next one, we marched around campus next to the picture. Yes, there we are. And we marched around campus and marched down Xenia Avenue to the DeWine farm, which had peacocks on it. And when they got there, people opened the envelope and there was a blank piece of paper. The whole idea was like conceptual, that I wouldn't see it at all. It was being taped. And then when it was done, I would look at it. I mean, that was art.
So there's some famous people. There's Abby Cantor there.
Cantor,
Seals
right.
back to us. Michael
Fagens is in the miter.
With the miter.
This was a great way for me to introduce myself to Antioch and to the town. Don't you? I mean, it was fun. It was really fun. Yeah.
So tell us about being an out gay man and how you incorporated your identity into your creative process. Next slide.
An out gay man.
And gender fuck drag.
Oh, yes. What happened next is I was on a co-op job at B. Altman's department store in New York City in men's underwear. And what happened is I met people from Gay Liberation Front, which is GLF. And it's a group that formed shortly after the Stonewall riots. And so the people I met there were fabulous and, writing manifestos and planning protests and marches. There was a march up 6th Avenue, the first gay pride march, and I was in it. But people there, the men there did gender fuck drag. Now, let me tell you about this. Gender fuck to me was when you wore a beautiful vintage dress from a shop in Springfield and you have a beard and you put purple glitter in your beard. And I had army boots that I'd sprayed silver. I had no tits. That was not me. I wasn't trying to be a woman. We weren't parroting women, or we didn't want to be women. The whole idea was to mix things up. And I, consequently.
Now connected to Maestro Peter.
Oh, stop it. That was Alexa. What was I saying about? I view drag as a political. Not like there's a lot of clowns around these days. It's RuPaul. Nothing against it except I don't think it's political. And every Broadway show has dear good to have a drag queen. There's too many drag queens right now. It's weird for me to say that, but that's what it is. So that was gender fuck drag, and we did it in New York. We went to Black Panther meetings. They were not fond of the purple eyeshadow, but they realized we were both on the same side. So that was fun.
So tell us about your risk taking. Okay, now this is a picture of your organizing.
Right. What happened is we went back to when I got back to Antioch, I brought all this stuff from GLF, and me and another Antiochian, I think Brian something, I forget his name. We went, we formed a Gay Liberation Front there at Antioch. First we met in my living room, and that's my living room. There was Seal Grusing at the piano, and some other people, I can't remember their names, I'm sorry. But it was fun. We got to know at least who was gay and had dances, and I don't think we had any demonstrations, I can't remember. And it quickly evolved into something else, another name. GLF was thrown out the window at one point for everyone.
So talk about your risk taking and how you mustered the courage to challenge stereotypes in public venues.
Yes, well, this was, I had a co-op job at Mount Auburn Cemetery in
Next.
Boston. Oh, no, wait, we don't want to leave that up for too long. This will give you, this will give you an idea of the times. My friend, or a guy that I never.
No, that's good. It's the sugar
that's
plum
right.
berry.
Oh, right. This will give you an idea of the times. This guy gave me an artistic license, is what he did. I think that, yes, there we go, to me. Now, what happened, the Sugar Plum Fairies were in Boston, okay, Mount Auburn Cemetery. I met GLF members there, and we formed a collective. And we did street theater that was a combination of anti-sexism, anti-homophobia, and anti-Vietnam War. So it was like a mixed combo. And people, they didn't know what hit them when it happened. And the first thing we did, well, we went down to the May Day demonstrations in Washington. 71, I believe it was that year. And that was a trip. And after that, we got back to Boston and we took a vote and we decided that we would tour the rural South. Because one of the members had parents who had a farm in Texas. We were headed there. We played about 6 towns. We had a van that was on the back, it said, "No more competition." That's what we wanted to do. And that was our goal. And then what happened is I went to this farm, because we had trouble in Roanoke, something like that. We went to a farm, this guy's parents, they were very nice, and we camped out, and we baled hay during the day. Sometimes a rattlesnake would come up. And we were very sophisticated. We would drop acid and act out Ingmar Bergman films on the back of a flatbed truck. And that was fun. And then eventually, well, me and the guy that was my lover at the time, I forgot about how we got our names. This is interesting.
Yes.
We've talked about this before, Catherine, I think.
No,
one night we decided to dub ourselves, and we stood in a love circle around a fire, and each one said his name, or the new drag name. And there was Rosetta Stone, Merry Christmas, Daisy Chain, Kasha Varnishka, and then it was me, and I said Aurora Borealis. There we go.
Great.
That's what I was. Hitchhiked to San Francisco and then back to Antioch.
Locker room lover.
Yeah. This was in the theater lobby, and I introduced my backup singers in this, the Iron Lungs, which was appropriate at the time. They don't call them that anymore, but and I sang a song that I had written called Locker Room Lover. And I guess we're going to play a little bit of it for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's number 52. He's a tackle on the high school football team. His eyes are baby blue, and his face is round and always very clean. Never took me out on a date. I hardly even know his last name. But the times that we make it great are after the Friday night football games. 'Cause he's my locker room lover. Oh, I adore him so. He's my locker room lover. Yeah, it was fun to show. Everybody wanted to see them as well as be in them. So there were lines and extensions of the run, stuff like that. And this is too personal, but I'll tell it anyway. I always wore jockstrap on stage because I thought that, if I got excited, it would ruin the silhouette of the dress. A lot of cool stuff. Okay, oh my. Okay,
Great.
well,
That's
that was
great.
I actually had a locker room lover. It's inspiration for the song.
So
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, I'm just going to talk. Do you have a question for me?
When did Aurora hit the big time? Out of the locker room.
Yeah, well, this was the Victoria Opera House. Somebody knew the owner of it. They hadn't had a show there in 30 years. And I came in, they booked us for one weekend. He saw a tape of mine. And we opened, and it was a huge show. I had sets, dancing buildings, things like that. And we rehearsed in the old high school down by the railroad tracks, I guess, or the river, whatever, in Yellow Springs. And it was just a wonderful thing. And there were the Iron Lungs. Now, I played the piano a lot, but then I had a pianist too who came out and played when I wanted to take the microphone and walk around or dance with the dancers. Now, we dropped balloons, we did all that stuff. And they asked us to play another weekend, and we did. Now, there was one song or a couple that I want you to hear little bits of. One is Love Me Like a Man. In the middle of this song, there it is. I ran down the aisle out into Maine and First in Dayton and said, "I'm doing your show," and then ran back up and got to the microphone just in time to sing. This was during a break, an instrumental break. I think you're going to hear it. Here we go.
Soul up on the shelf, you know they could never love me. They can't even love themselves. But I need someone to love me, someone to really understand, who won't put himself above me. He'll just love me like a man.
Okay, great. I had go-go dancers, the whole 9 yards. And I had, as far as I remember, a full house. Royalties come, sometimes a lot. They gave me a big advance on the production of O. Henry Christmas in Moscow. And then the war started. And they actually asked, could they keep that money? And I said, no, it wasn't the war, it was COVID. It was before the war. And I said, no, I don't want anybody to suffer because of this pandemic. Yeah, go ahead. And then they were going to do it again. But then the war started.
All right, this is a
Anyway,
segue.
Front Page Follies. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Front Page Follies was done in 2000. I met, I was looking for a project. A friend of mine brought me this fellow, Michael Quinn, who's a very good lyricist and a nice voice. Nice voice. And we did political satire at the Cornelia Street Cafe every Monday. And we had to change songs every week as different things were happening, like W. Bush was in office, and Enron had all these things happen. And it was really nice. We made a recording. Then 9/11 happened, and nobody was laughing. So we didn't perform for a while. When the late night comics began cracking jokes, then we came back and did that. So yeah, it's the back of our.
So we're going to hear a song from.
Oh yes,
Front Page.
yes.
Incidentally, Governor Bush has just unveiled his new policy on the environment. It's called faith-based environmentalism.
Praise God.
Yes, and the way it works is this: you take a glass of water, you drink it, and you pray it doesn't kill you.
The singing is Michael, not me.
The drama of your life begins when egg encounters sperm. Your mother's just the theater as she carries you to term. Yes, all the wombs are stages you perform your one-man show. And we're the biggest fans you have, at least until you go. It's a limited engagement biological review. And we swear we won't let critics close it down before it's through. And when you take your final bows, we'll scream and clap and fuss. But once you leave the theater, that's the last you'll see of us. You're on your own, you're on your own. We'll stand with you till you're born. After that, you'll stand alone till you join us with the strife. Kid, you got a right to life. But after that, well, we're afraid you're on your own. We'll mother you and nurture you and...
That's it. Yeah. So that was very popular. And we thought it's very apropos for today. But the writer is gone. The other guy. So I'm just going to do the recording. I don't know. Okay,
Peter,
this
can
was.
you move closer to your microphone?
Yes. How
Can't
about
hear
that?
you.
Is
Thank
that
you.
better? That's
Yeah.
better. Okay, yeah, I wrote a one-person show called "I Was a Teenage Drag Queen." I took a long time to write it over years and years, and I was going to perform it, but I had stage fright, which is unusual for me, but that's what happened. And but I did readings of it. One was at Antioch, and it was 2005, I believe, for marriage equality. Ohio. It was a benefit, and I packed the house. And then I did some readings at like the Manhattan Theater Club and a couple of other places, and I had an actor do it to play me, so to see if that could be done, and it could. And that's about that. I never did it, produced it anywhere. I got older, I got sick. I didn't really shop it around any. I think though that I may do do it in episodes online. I mean, I don't know much about online stuff. So that that might be a possibility to tell this story because it's all about my time at Antioch.
So how did Jane Austen get you to Moscow?
Yeah, well, what happened with this piece, which is the most extravagant I've ever done, I orchestrated the whole thing. We came from an incidental score that I did for Hit John's straight version of Pride and Prejudice in Arizona. And I said a couple of years later, why don't we write a musical of this, and I'll base the songs on the incidental score. He said, great. He already had the script written, so we revised it. I chose where songs should go, and it was pretty much what I wanted. And that was that. We wrote it. We sent it around. What was interesting is they published this. They published this before. Oh, that's Russia. They published this before it had a production, which is unusual. But they want John's name. We went, the same guy that directed Magi, the O. Henry Christmas at the State Theater in Moscow, directed Pride and Prejudice at the Moscow Art Theater. They asked him to direct whatever he wanted, and they accepted this play. There's a picture of the inside of it. Wooden chairs, even at the Bolshoi, which they sent me to, wooden chairs. They want people to pay attention. They did an extravagant thing. These flowers are hand sewn on these dresses. It was incredible. There is a song, right? I think we're going to play one song. Oh, no. I'll tell you in a minute. Wait a minute. That's okay. Well, you can play that, and I'll cut you off. But that's the accompaniment. I did a karaoke version for high schools, and that one has nobody singing on it. Oh. But that's okay. Anyway, that was some of this the karaoke version. This is this is Darcy and Elizabeth. Again, incredible costume. I went there for 10 days before it opened, and I stayed in a hotel, boutique hotel right across the street, and I worked on it. And at night I would do it on the computer, and I would email it to the musical director, and they would do it. I had it all rescored, things like that. But I didn't get to see much. The Bolshoi, they took me to him one night, and I saw Red Square that opened day of the opening because I had the afternoon off. Unreal, big. All right, that's me taking bows with Alexa. He's only in pink. He's not a wild and crazy guy. He's in pink because it matches the set and the dresses and things like that.
And there's
my orchestra. There's actually one person left on each side. There's another person that's cut off. Yep, they were great. They were so nice. And they loved my music. There I am in Red Square. Anyway.
So
there I am.
Yes. So I'm going to segue to have you answered Horace Mann's entreaty to be ashamed to die until you've won some victory for humanity.
No. Um, actually, I think, I don't know. The phrase is so, I don't know, it's so powerful that I don't know. Let me see, I wrote it down somewhere because I talked to my therapist about it. He calls it maladaptive perfectionism, which means that people, did I already talk about this? No, no.
No.
Means that people set unrealistic goals. I did? Yes, no, yes. Okay,
No, you have not.
unrealistic goals. You set and then that leads to criticism and depression and death, I guess. I don't know. So it was very hard. I'm not ashamed, and I'm not going to die. But I don't know. I really don't know about a victory for humanity. Catherine, you said the other day that it was a blessing and a curse. And I think I see some of that now, because the blessing would be that it encourages you to push forward and stuff like that. But that's okay. This is my husband. I don't like saying husband because then I'm the wife. I just say my spouse or my partner, my man. We're in Florida where we came during the pandemic, because I have a little house here, and there we are in the wetlands, the beautiful parks to walk in here. And we got married in 2006, which was way before it was legal here. We got married in Montreal, and when it was legal here, we got they honored it.
So you
ball and
talk about
chain.
being an out gay man as an act of resilience and
Yeah, well, what I think, yeah, this is all Antioch stuff. What I think, someone asked me once, well, what are you doing now? That's activist. It was at some party. It was the ACT UP party for people that used to be in it, something like that. And what happened is I answered him. I said, well, look, when I was young, I was only 20 when all that stuff happened at Antioch. And I marched in parades, and I've passed out pamphlets, and I've talked to many people about this. But I think what I'm doing now, which is what everyone should do, because it's the best weapon against all this homophobia that's still here and is coming up now even more. But you got to come out, because when you come out, they'll know who you are. They'll see that, oh, my cousin is gay, and we love him. So blah, blah, blah. Just it's more. The more of us there are, the better it will be. People will understand that this is not a lifestyle choice. It's a sex style for one thing, but it's not a choice. I mean, I say to my husband, my spouse, Freddie, all the time. I said, look, it can't be a choice, because you think I would choose you. It was just joking. So yeah, that's me after Antioch, a little bit looking like Freud. That was taken at a farmhouse by a photographer there. I lived in Yellow Springs, for 5 years after. That's Aurora Borealis and Companion. These were just fun stuff. There's the woman singing that song that you heard the karaoke version of. That's again in Moscow. Now, what happened, though, let me talk about Moscow for a second. Again, the guy I'm working with, Alexei, his whole family left as soon as the war happened. They fled through Helsinki, I believe, or Istanbul. They got to America, and they're safe. But Alexei, who the father, the husband of this stuff, he couldn't get out of the country. His passport had just expired, and he didn't know. He Zoomed me and said that he was so ashamed of his country, and he didn't know what to do, and he didn't want to protest because he might get killed. And he's at the top of this brilliant career. He's famous in Eastern Europe. And then the draft happened, and Putin's draft, and now he's missing. I got one email, that said, "Now I know what to do," and that, that could mean many things. So my project with him is on hold. Oh, that's a picture Nancy Pinders took.
This is a good slide to just talk about what are you working on now? What's next for you?
Well, there's the project with Alexei that's on hold until we find out where he is. And there's the Peter Ekstrom songbook that I'm working on. That was Charlie's Aunt that Paul directed. And there's Mark Gammon, he was a student. There's Flo. Oh, this is just a fake record that I put together from a picture. So I'm working on the Peter Ekstrom songbook. I have some other ideas of my own ideas of these two short stories to put together that are perfect. And I am going to do a lot of writing. I've been writing a lot of letters these days, and I think that it's good to write and talk about what's happening and what happened and things like that. A lot of, I have still friends left. Many people have died. It's terrible. It's, breast cancer is everywhere. It's just awful. But I'm 71 now, and people are going to start to die. I was like 22 when I met Paul. He was old, and only had like 4 or 5 years with him. Then he died. But if you have friends that are younger than you, you'll always have friends. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I think that's about it. That's all I have to say, Catherine.
Well, now we're going to have Q&A from
oh, from the audience, right?
From the audience. So Barry and Paul, I'll turn it back to you. Thanks. Oh, I have one thing. Peter, I hired Peter to write the music for my AIDS video called of putting together a song, and we had the young people sing it, and we won a gold medal at the International Film and Video competition back in 1988. So I've been a collaborator.
I taught it
as
in my courses, taught that film.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paula. I remember that. Yes.
I didn't know that.
Well,
so what do we do now?
Barry, do you want to deal with some of the questions? And I mean, so yeah, go ahead.
I'm looking in the chat. I don't see questions. So I ask the audience, raise your hand if you have any. I would ask Peter, I would like to hear from Aurora.
What do you, Aurora? What do you mean?
How might she have answered? I don't have a question for. How did Aurora feel about Peter?
Well, they were. It was civil. It was two personalities. No, I think that basically I was Peter. I was Peter in a dress, making a comment and having fun. And that's what I say to everyone: be yourself, come out. And that's what was happening with me.
So there was no alternate personality or way of speaking or.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I can't remember that way of speaking. No, I mean, when I hear the recordings of like that concert, I just sound like myself, I think. I mean, I'm not campy particularly. I don't think so. Peter, I got good reviews from Paul Caslin. Walt Caslin wrote a nice review of me in the Dayton Daily News. He came to Truckers Round Table and he was murdered by his son a little later in Yellow Springs. Whoa, scandal.
Somebody just asked if you would, what's the percentage of likelihood that you're going to do? I was a teenage drag queen.
Oh gosh, I don't think I would do it live, but I could do it live in segments over internet with pictures and stuff. I guess. I mean, I don't know if it's a good enough story to tell. I suppose. I try not to judge myself, let's put it that way. With all the songs, the first time I hear it sung by a singer, that's what's exciting. And when I make a recording, I listen to it, the final cut, and then I don't listen to it again. I haven't listened to Magi for how many years it was, 20, 30 years. I just don't want to do that. I just do what I do. It's a hard thing to describe.
So, Peter, would you do, I was a teenage drag queen at Reunion next year. It's your 50th. How's that sound?
Maybe. I've been asked to be on a panel, so that will be fun. And I haven't been to Yellow Springs for, I don't know, 16, 17 years. I'm gonna stay with Larry Electric.
Jessica has a question.
Well, I just wanted to say hello, Peter. I was the managing director at Arizona Theater Company
Oh,
when you and John were there, and it was such a wonderful production. And did we premiere that at our theater, or was
yes, that was the first
That's
time
what I
that
thought.
John's
That's what I
adaptation.
thought. And then it went to San Jose, I think, and the Alliance. It was a
And then
co-production.
Atlanta.
Yeah, in Atlanta. And I just, since I wasn't obviously in the room during the process, can you talk a little about how you and John sort of put that together as the first time it was being performed?
Yeah, well, you're talking about the incidental score, not Russia. You're talking about Arizona.
Yeah,
Right?
Arizona.
Yeah, well, the first thing that happened is John took me out to lunch. He was in New York City at the Edison cafeteria, which is poor man's Sardi's, but it's not anymore. And he said, "Look, Peter, I don't know if you're interested in this score because there's a lot of waltzes, a lot of dancing." And I said, "Of course I can do. What are you talking about?" So he sent me the script, and he and I talked together about where music might go and what the mood might be. So he said, "Oh, I want some music that's embarrassing. They're embarrassed." And I took those words and tried to do something in the style that he was directing the play. Like The Tempest was sort of in this fantasy world. Ming Cho Lee did the set and had goddesses singing, and I wrote, quirky music for that because it fit. In Arizona. So after that, I began to write. And just like when I write songs, I found one of the underscorings that I thought defined the show. And then it was a piece of cake. I was brought to Arizona. And it's the first time ever that I've walked into a rehearsal and everybody goes, "Oh, the score is so beautiful." It was kind of embarrassing. It was like smiling the whole time, like you do at your 40th birthday, and get tired after a while of all the compliments. But that's what happened. I was brought there a couple of times, again, like 10 days before the show opened. And it was great. I mean, they had a lovely cast, and I think that John's direction was fabulous in his adaptation. And, there you go. And after that, I said, let's make it into a musical. And we did. But again, there's a lot of conversation back and forth. I would send him a song through the email or whatever, and he'd listen. He said, "Well, no, this one, you have too many sexual images in this song." Okay. So I would tone it down and still make it funny. Humor in songs is an interesting thing because there's a rhythm that happens, and your punchlines they get progressively funny, and they come in certain places in songs. And I'm good at that. I love doing it. Because I know song forms and things like that. I never studied composing. I just took piano lessons and I listened.
That was really my question was, where did your musical talent and your voice and your skill on the piano and all this writing, where did that come from? I mean, were you born with it, or was it when you wore a dress at Halloween? I mean, how'd you get there? So many different genres.
Oh, yeah. Well, nobody writes like I do now because I'm pretty old fashioned, and they all want rock and roll, which I only tried once and it was a disaster. I started, I wrote a hymn for high school for baccalaureate. The teacher, I didn't like what she was teaching. They said, "Go write your own song." So I did. It was a choral piece, and they did it. And that was fun. And then at Antioch, of course, I played the guitar. I had a nylon string because I wanted to protect my fingers. Everyone had guitars, and we're singing folk songs and all sorts of types, all sorts of songs. So that was something. Oh, also, I was thinking today, I learned a lot of my harmony in church. That was the first place I learned. So that was really really indispensable for my direction, then I don't know. I just I wrote songs for Aurora, so that was part of it too, a part of my development. I entered some contests and things like that, which I didn't win, and um, and then when I was hired by John, I just did it. I mean, I can't describe it, Paula. It's just something that happens. I don't even. It just happens.
Tucker has a
I guess.
question.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I
Tucker,
listened
you
to
had a
music.
question? You're muted. You're muted.
Where's Tucker?
In the upper right.
I don't have a question. There's so many answers here, things that I wondered about or remembered vaguely. So it's really great to see. It's really great to see what happened to Peter after he left Yellow Springs. Because I would just, it was like a dream or something.
It is a dream.
I want to hear
I-
more.
Peter, I was there in the 50s when gayness was completely hidden.
Right.
In fact, I had a roommate, I didn't realize she was gay until much later. But I did go back and work with students on becoming uninhibited about who they were and so on. I'm wondering, did you ever go back and work with theater students at Antioch?
With theater students? No, not really. Not really. I mean, people came to see my shows, and they were all Antioch students. They didn't get credit like I did on the drag queen tour, but I didn't do any formal work like a workshop or a speech, or I was myself, and I was always out. Actually, I wasn't out when I first came. I confessed to this guy. I was so terrified. I said, I'm gay. And he said, I'm from New York City. All my friends are gay. What's the big deal? And that started me off to self-acceptance, which takes a long time. And I'm like this far from the top.
I would
Anyway,
like to hear.
That's my experience.
I would like to hear more about Pride and Prejudice.
About
oh, I don't know how you turned that fabulous novel into a fabulous performance.
Well, that was John's doing it first, because he wrote the straight adaptation of it, and that's what that's what we based it on. Now, as far as getting it there, the guy that I work with, Alexei, poor fellow, he's like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
All my theater friends have left the country there. He directed the O. Henry Christmas at the State Theater, and he's famous, and then the Moscow Art asked him to direct anything he wanted there, and I had written John and I had written this show. It had been published, and they loved it. They accepted it, and I went over, and then they did it. It ran for 2 years in repertory, and this was all before the war. I mean, I found Moscow to be a beautiful city, and the people were more cosmopolitan, I think, than it was just like here. The cities are liberal, the rest just listen to Putin, and it was quite an experience. But right now, it's hard. I mean, I don't think it's right that they won't let a Russian singer sing at the opera unless she's in favor of Putin and talks about it or whatever. I don't know. So sometimes I think, should I be working with Alexei? But he's not Putin, and they all read international newspapers, so they know what's going on. These are very, very educated people. No, that's that. One thing about that, and right on my 65th birthday, and I walked into the theater, and virtually everyone that was there to greet me was younger than I was.
I haven't got a question, but I can say that the song that you sang in the moon was "The Man in the Moon is a Lady."
Oh, okay. I'd forgotten what song. I should have sung "You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman." Now that would have brought the house down.
Yeah.
But I never got around to that.
No.
I think we've mentioned before that Marty Overstreet kept index cards on everyone who ever did anything in theater at Antioch. So whether you helped design a set or whether you were the star or whatever. And I did see Peter's card, I think had only two productions on it. Is that right?
That I acted in there. I
Yeah,
acted in
in-
The Time of Your Life. I played a drunk, and I acted in The Lower Depths that your father directed. And
That
the
was
first
when he died,
time-
right?
Yes, the same time he died. He came and greeted us, and then drove home and died in his driveway. But that was the first play that I ever did where there was no laughter, because it wasn't a comedy. There were a little bit here and there, but not much. And I wasn't used to that. I guess you just get the feel of the audience from that. I did plays in the amphitheater too, directed by Paul. But then I got stage fright in My Three Angels. Between Act 1 and Act 2, they had to hold it. I was out on the golf course retching. Oh, what am I? The wine was poisoned. The wine was poisoned. But it was a panic attack, and I went on and did the show. And after that, after the run of that, I didn't perform anymore until I guess it was the Front Page Follies. Or no, Doctors and Diseases in Louisville, and then the Front Page Follies. Now I don't give a shit. I'm too old to care what people think of me, and so I'd never been drunk before. This, Antioch was my first experience with drugs and things like that.
Was Charlie's Aunt not part of?
Yes,
I mean, it was
that was
done in the
another.
amphitheater, but was it? Yeah, that was after you had graduated.
Yes, it was. And Marty Overstreet didn't have that on the card because she had left by that time.
Oh.
And that was, I played Lord Fancourt Babberley, who's the one that dresses up as an ant. And, Treichler had seen me do the show at Comms. He said, look, I don't want you to do what you're doing there. I did, just try to take Fancourt and just dressed up. And it was fun. It was easy to do. And it was fun. That was the very first time that I ever really had a starring role. It's not that much of a star because, you depend on the reactions of other people. They're sometimes funnier than your lines. But again, I was the star. And I think that also drove me to do Aurora. I wanted to maybe put myself in a situation where people couldn't hate me, maybe. I don't know.
Make your final bows, we'll scream and clap and fuss. But once you leave the theater, that's the last you'll see of us. You're on your own, you're on your own. We'll stand with you till you're born. After that, you'll stand alone till you join us with the strife. Kid, you got a right to life. But after that, well, we're afraid you're on your own.